Welcome Accounting 104 students. We're here to develop an understanding about payroll, the scope of this field of practice and study. We're going to spend a considerable amount of time looking at the law, federal, local, state law regarding payroll. We've summarized the course objectives here in the syllabus, and this is probably a good overview and way to view the course and to begin our study in this first of a series of lectures on the topic at hand. We're going to pay attention then to payroll law and regulation at various levels, especially the federal level, which is the foundation of our current payroll legal system. We're going to do some computations. That is going to be the bulk of what we do in this course, is to not so much memorize rates and memorize exact numbers that are resident in the current published rates for various payroll taxes, etc., but to simply get familiar with, given a certain rate, how would you compute a tax or a payroll benefit. So computations are what we're going to do, and as you may have noticed, I've encouraged you to consider using Excel. When you do that, it's going to make your life a whole lot easier. The number one issue that we need to worry about in computations, especially in payroll, is rounding, and rounding is something you must pay constant attention to. You can have an exact procedure on how to arrive at the answer and get it wrong simply because you didn't follow the rounding convention that was an overlay to the problem. Beyond that, as we reach the end of the course, after we learn to do computations, learn all about the major law, especially federal, affecting payroll. We're going to look at the payroll accounting system. We're going to be preparing journal entries. We're going to complete a payroll register, and we can see how in actual practice this payroll activity gets entered into the accounting system and managed. And of course, we're going to use a personal computer to get this done. The number one software you should keep in mind that you want to get familiar with and use, if you haven't already, is Excel, and make that part of your toolkit, make that part of the things you know how to do, because in the real world of accounting and payroll, you're going to be asked many, many times to perform work in Excel, and you need to get comfortable with it and have it sort of a second nature. So we'll continue to encourage that as we go forward. Okay, this is our textbook for the course. It's the Biggs & Toland's Cengage Publisher product. This is changed every year because payroll law and tax rates change virtually every year. This is the current edition of Payroll Accounting. It's one of the very few textbooks that is available and is in a format that is current, and it maintains a thorough and broad view of the field of payroll accounting as an introductory course. And so we're going to be using that consistently. We're going to follow it. All of the questions, all of the issues that you're being asked to deal with in the assignments and the quizzes and the final exam all come from the textbook. We could find things from out of the textbook that are important and bring it in, but we're not going to do that. We're going to mention them, we're going to discuss them possibly, but we're not going to test on them. All the test banks and all the question development has come directly from the authors that produced that payroll textbook. Okay, we're going to begin here in Chapter 1. We're going to break Chapter 1 into several smaller lectures to deal with it. And the first lecture that we want to deal with is a lecture that would concern itself with the payroll profession, with the idea that if you're studying payroll, you may have an eye to what kind of opportunities are available, how much demand there is for people that specialize in payroll. We want to get some broad notion of what that's all about. And so we have here a slide that has some bullet points regarding the payroll profession, and that's an important starting point as we go forward. So we note here that an average payroll clerk has this salary as stated here. You have to remember that is an average, that is made up of all kinds of different situations. Many are paid much more than that, many are paid less than that. The important thing I want to impress on you is there is a strong demand for payroll specialists, and the field is growing. because legislators at the federal, state, and local level never stop getting involved in payroll and applying and overlaying more and more law, more and more complexity, and frankly more and more liability for employers who have to interpret that law and apply it to their situation. We're going to talk a little bit here about the American Payroll Association. That association is the premier private nonprofit association that provides payroll education and certification to members to indicate how well versed they are in payroll law and payroll practice. And that certification is a very important indicator of the hireability of payroll professionals, which we'll see as we look at this in more depth here. I wanted to point out the code of ethics that is maintained and established by this payroll association here. We're dealing with the American Payroll Association, APA. Here's their code of ethics. It's a lengthy and reasonable list of standards that they expect of their members to be a member in payroll. And I've highlighted in red here the one item that I would point to as requiring an enormous amount of work and effort and concern. To keep current with legislative developments in payroll, you have to be on point. You have to use all of the resources, especially the resources of the American Payroll Association and private vendors who support and provide payroll services. You have to use all those, plus sometimes legal counsel, to keep abreast of all the issues involving payroll. It's never changing. It's constant. Congress, state legislators, and even, for example, the Seattle City Council get regularly involved in the payroll process. You will hear this from me several times that there probably is no other activity in a free market economy that is so completely controlled as the payroll transaction, where you are hiring yourself out for pay, a transaction in an economy, and it's hard to find any other example that is so completely controlled by the government. And we're going to hopefully get an understanding of that and an understanding of the liability that you put yourself in if you fail to follow that law and fail to maintain your understanding of the law, which is a major tenet here of this list of code of ethics. Okay, here we are at the American Payroll Association. Here's the web address for those of you who would like to visit it. I would encourage you to visit it and look around. It's a major association. It's a nonprofit that is there to provide payroll education and certification in payroll to its members to attest to their worthiness to conduct payroll operations at various levels. I'm going to go ahead and go to the actual website here, and when I do, I want to talk about the certification options at the American Payroll Association. Okay, so here we are at that website. There are educational opportunities, courses, publications, job boards, all kinds of important things. But let's take a look here at the certification tab. I just clicked on this certification tab and I came right here. This offers to us a couple different certifications. This is the top one here, Certified Payroll Professional. This is a stepping stone, a lower level payroll certification. Both are substantial. Both require a lot of work to obtain that certification. Let's take a peek at the top one here, Certified Payroll Professional. Let's see what kinds of things they're looking for. You have here 3 criteria that you have to meet. You pick the criteria that you choose to attempt to meet the certification. The first one here says if out of the past 5 years you've been a practicing payroll professional in these areas, right here, that would be a qualifier for you to be considered to take the examination. The examination is stringent and lengthy, but to be able to sit for it, you have to have some evidence that you have preparation, understanding a basis for taking the exam, in addition to the direct education that you need to go through to take the exam. So that's one criteria. If you have a little less experience in payroll but still substantial, here are a couple other options in which you add to that experience. You add some coursework that you take from the American Payroll Association to supplement your possibly shorter period of time as a payroll professional. Yet here is a third criteria. We have an even less, 18 months in this case, experience. Well, they'll tell you you can qualify for the exam if you complete these courses or these courses. So they're trying to ensure that if you sit down for the exam, you're well prepared, qualified, and not wasting your time with what would be a failure if you don't have that preparation and qualification. Here we are then at the second level of payroll certification by the American Payroll Association. This is fundamental payroll certification. It's appropriate for entry-level payroll professionals, salespeople who are involved in the payroll industry, systems analysts, those types of people that are related to or just starting into the payroll field. And they can obtain this fundamental payroll certification, which becomes an important marker and important thing on their resume for their career as they're going forward. That particular certification doesn't have the experience and the educational criteria to take the exam for this certification that the previous one did. It is a little lighter in the requirements to get there because it's intended for a different level of certification. But those are the two basic certifications that are available from the American Payroll Association, that fundamental and then this certified payroll professional. Let's go on then and look at some of the job boards, get a feel for the kind of jobs and careers that are available in the payroll industry. Okay, from that American Payroll Association website, I just arbitrarily clicked on jobs with the word payroll in them. That association job board has other business level job postings in addition to payroll, but these all have the word payroll in them. This one is telling us that in this search area in Colorado, I picked just for purposes of example, 250 payroll related jobs. Here are the various titles. This is current as of the end of August here. We see payroll administrator, payroll coordinator, payroll manager, payroll assistant, all levels, lead payroll administrator, manager, payroll tax. These are an indication of the complexity, number one, and the importance of payroll as a skill and an experience level, because virtually every firm has a payroll function. And every firm needs people working in payroll. Many firms outsource the actual payroll calculation and production of payments, but you need administration of that process and understanding of the process, because as hopefully we'll understand as we go through the course, the liability that you incur by failing to meet the letter of the law is enormous. That liability is enormous. We have to keep that in mind. Now I clicked on this one here, payroll administrator and banking, just to give you some idea. These are the job description, responsibility. This is a higher level position, and I'm sure it's well paid. It's in the banking industry, but I want to draw your attention down here. This is interesting. Candidate qualifications. At this level, I mean, you would normally expect bachelor's degree, master's degree, nothing else. Because payroll is such a specialized field, and because that field has kind of developed outside of academia, it's taught, it's part of university programs, it's part of our college, Sterling Community College program here, of course, because we're geared in this program to professional technical degrees. But in this particular higher level position, 1 to 2 experience in payroll processing, that's not a huge amount, but it is, there. You do need that experience to be qualified to be considered for this job. Yes, a bachelor's degree yes, it's not specific as to what that is, but that would be a criteria. But they add this, or a certified payroll professional. So back to that American Payroll Association payroll site, and you consider yourself not having a bachelor's degree. And by the way, they also say an associate degree is fine, which is what many of you are working towards right now. But add to that this certified payroll professional. This is powerful in its indication of your fitness or qualification for the job. In other words, this firm is willing to say, you know, even if you don't have a college degree, but you're a certified payroll professional and you have 2 years experience, we want to talk to you. I mean, that's a strong indication that this is a very specialized field. It's very much in demand, and it's worthy of study, number one. It's worthy of consideration as a career choice, number two. Okay, then to give us just even a little bit more idea of this payroll profession, I went to this Robert Half site. Robert Half is a placement firm in finance and accounting. They're a premier international firm. They've been in this business a long time. They also operate this site here, Account Temps, which provides temporary accounting help for firms internationally, actually. And they also operate Office Team, which provides administrative and clerical help for businesses internationally. But I did this with you put the word payroll in as a key word in several of these websites that are run by this firm, Robert Half Company. And for example, here we're trying to look at a location, zip code in Seattle. Put this in here, and here's what we come up with. All of these are in our area. They start to include other job opportunities that probably have payroll in the job description somewhere. Some experience with payroll is important, and that kind of thing. But you can get an idea that you can be considered here for a job if you're interested as a clerk at a low level to an entry level that's $15 to $17 an hour, all the way up to a much more substantial position like a payroll administrator. And as we look at broader searches, we can get some idea here. Here's a much broader search. It isn't confined to Seattle, but as we look at some of these salaries that are offered for these payroll specialists at a higher level, you get a feeling. You know, here's one in Washington D.C. probably with it's $50,000 to $75,000 as a payroll supervisor, for example. There's a payroll manager up to $100,000 in Florham Park. So it is a career in an area of specialty that can grow as you go up the ladder of management, and you need to be able to assure yourself that the complexity and the need for skilled professionals, the complexity of the field and the need for skilled professionals to deal with that complexity seems to be unending. It just seems to be getting more complex all the time. So that gives us an idea of what you can do and where you can go in the field of payroll. Here is a similar in a temporary placement side of Robert Half Company, where we can see more clerk positions and more lower salary, entry-level positions. But there are so many of them. All of these pages here have, we have 500 results in this kind of global search for North America. Scads of many opportunities in payroll. And what does it take? It takes experience, and it takes some level of education and certification. It isn't like I want to work as a CPA and I need to have 5 years of school, a bachelor's degree included, and I need to sit and pass a CPA exam. This isn't that great a length of time to get into the payroll field, and so it may become an opportunity. It's more wide open, I believe. Lots of potential there. So that concludes my introductory lecture for this Accounting 104 that is simply going to give us an idea of what the field as a profession is like in payroll and give us just some flavor for that. So we're going to move on, and the next thing we're going to start talking about here right quickly in this very next recorded lecture will be the law and payroll, and we're going to start running through some of the specific laws at a federal level, even state and local level, that affect payroll, and try and understand the reasoning behind them and what they imply as to how you are able to produce or not produce payroll.